Good morning! So the patch notes for Path of Exile Incursion content update 3.30 just hit. Or last night while I was sleeping, I guess. I'm gonna try my best to read it out loud. I'm probably gonna mess up some words. Get confused and stuff, but whatever. So, first off, we have the Incursion Challenge League. Hey, Petro. Good morning. Challenge Leagues are a great opportunity for a fresh start in the new economy. Well, this is in every single patch note for a new league. I go over the variations. Sure. In the Incursion Challenge League, Explorer Alva Vala is searching for the ancient vault treasure temple of Atsuatl. Travel back in time to discover the location of the temple and change its history to maximize your reward. Getting ready for Incursion? Yep. Each time you encounter Alva in the wilderness, she can open a time portal allowing you to visit the temple of Atsuatl during its construction. Your brief visit can be extended by laying waste to its inhabitants. These visits allow Alva to learn its location in present day and allow you to influence its content and reap its rewards. After 11 temporal incursions, Alva will have narrowed down the present day location of the Temple of Atsuatl. Together you can explore the jungle, discover the temple and claim its treasures. Each type of room in the temple has its own unique risks and rewards. Anyway, we already know all of this from Ziggy's videos and stuff. Yeah, you kill the architects to influence which rooms get upgraded and stuff. "40 new challenges. Bandana at 12. Cloak at 24. Portal at 36. Pretty standard. And you also get the totem after 19th. Anyway, moving on to major new content and features. New strength gem, Val Earthquake. Smash the ground, dealing damage in an area and cracking the earth. The crack will erupt in a powerful aftershock after a short delay. Your steps will deal damage around you for a duration, cracking the earth if previous cracks have erupted. Interesting. So, Val Earthquake pretty much gives you an earthquake on walk effect, I suppose. That's pretty cool for clearing, I guess. Depends on how large the AoE of Earthquake is gonna be, though. Add a new intelligence gem, Val Blight. Apply a powerful debuff which deals chaos damage over time to enemies around. Then apply 2 additional layers in a large area, growing greatly in size each time. Enemies are also substantially hindered, slowing their movement for a shorter secondary duration. So without the numbers on this, we can't really tell if it's gonna be any good. But the regular Blight is pretty good, so this will probably just deal more damage than that. And in a larger area. Added a new dexterity gem, Val Blade Vortex. Create an independently moving vortex of ethereal blades, which lasts for a duration. The vortex moves towards nearby enemies, repeatedly damaging enemies that it passes through. So you kind of create kind of like a minion that's not a minion. It moves towards enemies. So it doesn't move at random. It actually moves towards enemies. That's nice. Again, without the numbers, we don't really know how good this is gonna be. Added a new strength / intelligence gem, Vol Impurity of Fire. Casts an aura that reduces fire damage taken and provides ignite immunity to you and nearby allies. And makes hits against nearby enemies ignore their fire resistance. I wonder if this is gonna work with Righteous Fire at all, because ignite immunity might actually remove Righteous Fire. I know a flask with ignite removal does that. But maybe this just makes you immune to any following effect and not the ones on you at the moment. Added a new dexterity / intelligence gem, Vol Impurity of Ice. Casts an aura that reduces cold damage taken and provides freeze and chill immunity to you and your nearby allies. And makes hits against nearby enemies ignore their cold res. Does the same thing as Vol Impurity of Fire, except with cold and freeze. No, the Impurity of Lightning does the same thing for shock. So don't have to read that out loud. Excuse me. Added a new dexterity / intelligence gem, Charged Traps Support. Supported trap skills have a chance to gain frenzy and power charges when your traps are triggered by an enemy. Also grants increased trap throwing speed for frenzy charge. And added critical strike multiplier for traps per power charge. Yeah, might be good. I don't know how many spare sockets Trapper actually have. Like this might be able to fit into a Trapper build, but I honestly don't know because I never play them. Added a new dexterity / intelligence gem, Flamethrower Trap. Throw a trap that releases a number of flames in different directions around it when triggered. The flames last for a duration, rotating around the trap and repeatedly dealing damage. Burning enemies are dealt more damage. We've already seen this on ZD's videos. Seismic Trap. I don't think we've seen this one. Added a new dexterity / intelligence gem, Seismic Trap. Throw a trap which, once triggered, repeatedly releases a number of waves for duration. It's kind of like an earthquake on a trap. Waves though. Oh, maybe it's more like Shockwave Totem. Each wave deals damage in a series of small bursts in a line, ending with a larger burst. Damage in a series of small bursts in the line. So it sounds more like Sunder right now. Bursts in the line. It's like a Sunder Earthquake hybrid and a trap, maybe. Ending with a larger burst. Modifiers to cast speed affect how frequently it releases waves. I see. Another new Dex Gem explosive trap. Throw a trap that creates a large explosion when triggered. Dealing spell damage in an area. A number of smaller explosions occur around this area in quick succession after the first. Yeah, I think this will be the early leveling trap. Or one of them at least. Siphoning trap. Throw a trap that applies debuff beams to a number of nearby enemies for duration. The beams chill and deal cold damage over time. The beam is also applied to you, granting life and mana regen based on the number of debuff beams affecting enemies. This will have very limited usefulness, like maybe on certain bosses you'll get some benefit out of this. But for clearing packs, you don't really want to keep them alive that long. Lightning Spire Trap. Throw a trap which, once triggered, will repeatedly strike multiple areas around it for a duration, dealing lightning damage. Modifiers to cast speed affect how frequently it strikes. Has a higher chance to critically strike shocked enemies. This was in Ziggy's most recent video as well. Oh, now we're actually moving on to stuff we didn't already know. Added 31 new unique items, 4 of which were designed by our supporters. 31 new uniques. We've seen a lot of those though in reveals already. And a lot of them are from the temple, and a lot of them can be upgraded, so there are a lot of sets of 2 uniques, where one is the weaker version and one is the upgraded version. Added 2 new rogue exiles. Interesting. Based on submissions by competition winners. Which competitions though? I would have loved to design a rogue exile, to be honest. Could have been the t-shirt one maybe. I don't know. 22 new divination cards. Let's hope they're not all garbage. Well, I've seen some of them. They're not all garbage. I know there's the item level 100 shaped opal ring, for instance, as a new divination card. That's pretty cool. Added new corrupted implicits, which can appear in corrupted on items corrupted by Vol Orbs. Oh, so they can actually... I didn't realize that these new corruptions can be applied by Vol Orbs. I thought you could only get them from the temple corruption fonts. Bringing the total to approximately 176. Many of the old implicits were buffed or moved to different items, and some were disabled. Some were disabled. Hopefully only the bad ones. Generally, corrupted implicits are more powerful on average. Cool. Added a new feature, always attack without moving. Now this is a big quality of life improvement. This feature prevents your character from moving while using skills, where this is toggled on, as if you're holding down your attacking place key. This can be toggled on and off on individual skills on the skill bar. So, you click your skill, and then toggle it on for each individual skill. It's going to be really useful. This feature can also be used on movement skills to prevent the skill from name locking. God tier change. Yeah, this is the biggest quality of life improvement we've had since Lockstep, pretty much. Since they killed desync. And it's such a small thing too. They should have added this like 2 years ago. But at least it's here now. Maybe it took a lot more work on their end than expected. Minor new content and features. The way that they did it was nice too. Yeah, I think it's a good way to do it. Added 39 new labyrinth enchantment for existing skills and 43 for new skills. Enchantments for existing skills which have undergone significant reworking may not appear anymore due to mechanical changes, making them non-functional, such as enchantments which modify the cooldown of trap skills. Existing versions of these enchantments will now grant increased damage with that skill at the same value. Okay. I wonder if they're also going to nerf some of the enchantments that might be overpowered with new skills, like the arc one. Let's find the arc enchant real quick. The current version, I mean. Yeah, arc chains 3 additional times. After getting all that extra more damage on arc per chain remaining, that's gonna be insanely overpowered if they don't nerf that. We'll see. I might be skipping ahead in the patch notes by mentioning arc, but they already revealed the gem. Added 6 dangerous new nemesis mods. Ooh, nice. I might have actually seen one of these in alpha, but I can't really comment anymore on what it does. Added 8 new Grandmasters to the Hall of Grandmasters unique map and replaced 2 existing ones. Okay. I wonder which ones they replaced. Maybe the unkillable block character. Maybe Hall of the Grandmasters will actually be completable by more characters now. And not just Scorching Ray. Add a 3D art for the following unique items. Sorry. Ambush Charge, Apep's Rage, Bloodseeker, Chinsol, Cloak of Tomer Eiley. I don't know. It's probably Welsh, and I really don't know how to pronounce Welsh names. Cosprey's Malice, Cosprey's Will. Ooh, Cosprey's Malice. That's nice. Darkray Vector's Death's Hand. Doomfletch, nice. Doomsower, Dune Kibiari, Dreamfeather, Dying Breath, Empire's Grasp, Great Old One's Ward, Greed's Embrace. Oh, we've already seen the Greed's Embrace 3D art. It looks pretty sick. Now, if only the item wasn't terrible and people could actually use it without being slow as balls. That would be nice too. I believe I have some of these. 20% reduced movement speed. Yeah, it's unusable. It kinda sucks. Hemophilia, Ishimonji, Infernal Mantle, Infractum, Infractum. Frickin' Minecraft bow gets 3D art. Inspire Edge, Kingsguard, Kondo's Pride, Congo's Undying Rage, Malgarv's Lenge, Maloney's Nightfall, Montregal's Grasp. Montregal's Grasp is gonna look pretty sick. It's a really nice looking item. The hand scepter. whatever. Do I have one? Yeah, this one. Can't wait to have 3D art for that one. Moon Sorrow, Gnomic Storm, Null's Inclination, Pillar of the Cage God, Piscator, nice! Queen of the Forest, yeah, that looks like a tracksuit now, that's gonna be amazing. Reaper's Pursuit, Repentance, Centauri's Answer, Shackles of the Wretched, Sintrek, Snakebite, Soul Mantle, Terminus Est, the Baron, Beast Fur Shawl, the Broken Crown, the God is Bound, the Restless Ward, Veil of the Night, Victorious Charity, Voltaxic Rift, and Worm Sign. So they added a lot of 3D art. I didn't expect them to add this much. Updated the 2D and 3D art of Tabula Rasa to look less like a sweatshirt your grandmother gave you that was several sizes too large. I like how they put this on a separate line. Rip Tabula. It's no longer gonna look like a large t-shirt. Updated the appearance of the totems found in the beast areas in Acts 4 and 9. I actually have no idea what those are. Totems? The beast areas? Do they mean the things that spawn stuff? No clue. Targets for the Pale Council prophecy chains now show up on the minimap, maybe in the beast. Yeah, I know which area they mean. Probably Belly of the Beast and Harvest and stuff. But are there even totems there at all? I mean, there are things that spawn these eye creatures. They kind of look like totems, I guess. Yeah, the eye spawners, maybe. Oh well. I shouldn't really get sidetracked like this. Let's move on. I want to be in the right town, though. Oriath, let's go. It might be the eye spawner, or it might be like... there are some other types of totems, but I'm not sure if they're in that area. That look different from other totems. I'm having trouble describing them right now, though, so let's move on. Targets for the Pale Council prophecy chains now show up in the minimap. Now, this is a big one, actually, because that's another big quality of life change. Previously, you could like literally fully clear Fellshrine ruins without finding the Unbreathing Queen specters. But now that'll be a lot quicker. That's cool. Ground effects of all types, such as chilled ground, have been upgraded. They should be clearer to see and better for performance. I also hope they're better for Ice Drain, because currently Shocked Ground and Chilled Ground, and even the new updated Burning Ground is kind of hard on the eyes. I feel like I have to turn down the brightness of my monitor every time I encounter these mods. So I hope they're a little less bright while still being noticeable on the ground. Made several skill performance optimizations, most notably Molten Strike's performance at high projectile volumes. Okay. Molten Strike. What about Magma Orb? Magma Orb is the most notably GPU melting skill in the game, I think. Although they did have some trouble differentiating between the two when they were talking about it on Bakelast, I think. Because they have internal names for the skills, and Molten Strike and Magma Orb might be very similar in the internal names. Or maybe they just changed the name so many times they can't keep it straight anymore. I thought Magma Orb was getting an update already. Maybe. World and map areas can now have multiple sub-areas. This means you can now, for example, find a Zana mission on the same map as a Labyrinth Trail, Abyssal Depths, or Elder Guardian. Please note that only the most recently opened sub-area of any given time, any given area will stay open indefinitely. And others will eventually expire as if it were any other inactive instance. Expired sub-areas become inaccessible rather than simply resetting. Alright, so... yeah, you can get multiple sub-areas, that's pretty good. Now whenever you see a Zana mission, that doesn't exclude the map from having trials or depths. That's nice. The item filter now supports sorting by gem levels, stack sizes, and explicit item mods. Wow. Now that's pretty sick. Explicit item mods. So let's say I only wanted to show unset rings with of the kaleidoscope, for instance, to all elemental resist. I could put that in my item filter now. How would that even work since they would be unidentified? It would only work with identified items. So it's very limited in usefulness, but I mean they added it because of the new mods from the temple, I guess. But we'll have a look at this stuff later in the item filter thing. Stack size, gem level. Gem level is pretty cool too. I can show all level 20 gems, for instance, as well as 20 quality gems. Because they're about the same value. You can now filter the social panel with Control F. This one. What's this? Control F. Yeah, okay, so if you hit Control F, you get this text box. Next patch. Updated the Lore Weave, Kingmaker, and the Taming Vendor recipes to give Shaper and Elder results if all the inputs were Shaper or Elder items. Wow. Imagine chancing so many unique rings that you can make a Lore Weave out of shaped rings. That's so useless and so expensive at the same time. Because all you get is the background. Someone did it to find that out. Yeah. Someone got disappointed when it didn't work. That's pretty hardcore. That's several thousand chance orbs, probably like 50,000 or more. And also the same amount of scours, I guess, because You're not gonna have that many rings. Nice synergy for Elder Shaper synergy items. Oh yeah, that's true. There are some items that do stuff while you have Shaped or Elder items equipped. It's very limited in use though. Extremely niche. Continued to incrementally improve the sound, art, effects, and environments. That's pretty vague. But hopefully we'll just notice that everything looks better and sounds better. Character balance. Modifiers to skill duration no longer modify the duration of traps, totems, or mines, but will continue to modify the duration of skills cast by traps, totems, and mines, if those skills have duration. Okay. I guess that's a minor nerf to totems, because the totem duration won't be affected anymore. I don't think it matters at all for traps and mines, because they get new nodes in the passive tree to kind of compensate for this. And in some cases, maybe you want a shorter duration. Anyway, I'm not really that affected by this change because I don't play these builds a lot. Ignite now deals 50% of the igniting hits damage per second, or 4 seconds. Up from 40%. Okay, so that's a minor buff to Ignite's baseline damage. But they also buffed a lot of skills that Ignite, and some passives. You can now have up to 15 traps active at a time, up from 3. Wow, 15. So that means you can spam a lot of trap skills now. I mean, I know some of the new traps, and also the trap support gem, don't have a cooldown anymore. And this 15 trap limit will make it so you can actually spam them for a single target up to ridiculous trap throwing speeds. Because you're not gonna hit 15 active traps very quickly. At least not without a heavy investment in throwing speed. Although I guess with multiple traps, what's it called? Cluster trap? There's a way to throw 3 traps at a time, so that's 5 per second if you want to hit this limit. I guess it might still be reachable. I don't know. I don't know enough about traps to really analyze this in depth. Skill balance. Supports which cause skills to create traps, totems, or mines will no longer grant that skill the duration tag. Okay. This might be a nerf to certain skills that took advantage of this. Traps. The interaction between the trap skills with cooldowns and sources of additional traps thrown, such as multiple traps or cluster traps, has been changed. And now work as they did with Vol Lightning Trap previously. Namely, the additional traps can only be thrown if the skill has at least 1 extra trap cooldown stockpiled. And only as many additional traps will be thrown as there are cooldowns stockpiled. Okay, so you can no longer bypass or ignore the cooldowns with these supports. In other words, if you have 3 seismic traps stockpiled and have the Shaper's additional trap glove mod, you throw 2 traps and consume 2 seismic trap cooldowns. If you only have 2 cooldowns stockpiled and attempt to throw 3 seismic traps, you'll only throw 2 traps. Sure, I get it. Man, they really went in depth in this explanation. I feel like they could have shortened this to like half the size. And still gotten the point across. As a result of this change to trap cooldowns, the following trap skills no longer have a cooldown. Fire Trap, Lightning Trap, Ice Trap. I didn't know that Ice Trap would no longer have a cooldown. That's pretty cool. No pun intended. Spammable Ice Traps. I don't know how good Ice Trap is. The trap model has been updated. The actual trap on the ground. Fire Trap no longer has a cooldown, now requires level 12. Oh, it's not a super early skill anymore. RIP. Now deals 7 to 11 fire damage when triggered. Look who's online, poggers. Hey Moxu. I'm just reading patch notes. And having some coffee, speaking of which. Yeah, 7 to 11 fire damage when triggered at gem level 1, up from 2 to 4. Wow, that's a big increase. Although it's level 12 now, so that makes sense. Up to 410 to 616 at gem level 20. I'm going to check what the numbers were for Fire Trap before. 513 to 770. Whoa, it actually got a nerf on the high end. RIP. Fire damage per second was 701 before. The Burning Ground it creates now deals 24.1 fire damage per second at level 1, up from 3.6. Okay, so they buffed the burning a lot. It went up to almost double. Wow. That's not a nerf. This damage is now modified by spell damage modifiers. Wow. You can scale this Fire Trap to ridiculous levels now, I think. I mean, maybe it just makes it a viable trap instead of completely garbage. I don't know anyone who uses Fire Traps in the endgame currently, so it might actually just be unusable right now. And maybe this will make it usable. Base duration of the Burning Ground is now 1.75 seconds, down from 8 seconds. Well, that's a pretty short duration. So I guess you need to keep throwing them a lot more often if you want to do single target damage with these. I know back when Fire Trap was actually good, you didn't actually care about the Burning Ground effect. You just wanted to do a big initial hit and then make that proliferate to nearby enemies. But the Burning Ground didn't matter back then. But we were taking advantage of double dipping then too, so it's not really a fair comparison. Now it has 1% increased fire damage per 1% gem quality. Previously had 3% increased burning damage per 2% gem quality. I mean, it's slightly less damage, but it's fire damage instead of burning damage, so it affects both the initial hit and the burn. Now deals added fire damage against burning enemies. I see. Added damage effectiveness of 200%. This is also a huge buff. Because you can get a bunch of extra damage to spells these days with shaped items and auras. Even anger affects spells now. Bear Trap now applies a debuff. The debuff lingers for a duration after the immobilizing effects wear off, while debuffed enemies take 15% increased damage from traps and mines and have 80% less movement speed. This movement speed gradually recovers back to normal over the course of the debuff's duration. Yeah, I heard Sigurd say that Bear Trap was going to be like a utility trap in every trapper's arsenal, just to make enemies take more damage. And the slowing effect looked pretty strong even on Guardian of the Hydra in that video. Four-second cooldown, up from 3. Lower mana cost. Higher base crit. Okay. Lightning Trap no longer has a cooldown. Damage was buffed. Nice patch notes. Wander and Tornado Shot still best. I haven't gotten to that part yet, Moxu. Don't spoil the patch notes for me. Well, Doom Guy. They're so big though. There's so much to cover, so many skill changes. And I'm probably, if I read all the numbers, I'm probably just not going to be able to process them, because I'll just get them all mixed up. So I'll try to do a quick comparison of the magnitudes of the buffs instead of actually reading the numbers. So this got about a 30% buff, maybe 33% buff on the damage on the gem level. Now has 1% increased lightning damage per 1% gem quality and 1% increased effect of shock per 2% gem quality. Previously had trap throwing speed, incredible value. They actually added incredible value. Now it's 80% increased critical strike chance against shocked enemies, growing as the gem levels, up to 118%. Lower mana cost at higher gem levels, up to 20, down from 24. That's a minor change, but still. One extra base crit. Now has an added damage effectiveness of 100%, up from 90%. Now fires projectiles with a random rotation as opposed to targeting an enemy. What? New patch means new guide. Monka S. Hey, Mystical Chill. In case you're unaware, Mystical Chill is the guy who compiled the All Airs spreadsheet. I'll show it off real quick. It was really useful for completing these achievements. We don't know if they're gonna change much about All Airs though. I haven't gotten to I haven't been through all the patch notes yet, but I haven't seen anything about NPC dialogue changes yet. But I guess you're still gonna have to run it one more time to confirm that it still works. I still get angry people missing one thing because they didn't follow it right. Feels bad, man. Well, I can confirm that your guide works if you just follow it. It has changed every patch since 2.4. Really? Well, it's no surprise that they changed it in 3.0 when they added 6 new acts. But that's pretty extreme. Where was I? Yeah, I was stuck on this thing, because now fires projectiles with a random rotation as opposed to targeting an enemy. I actually had no idea that Lightning Trap previously targeted an enemy. I thought it just shot projectiles in every direction from where you threw the trap. Maybe I'm misunderstanding this. Anyway, moving on to Ice Trap. No longer has a cooldown. Decent damage buff on this one as well. Now has a lower mana cost at higher gem levels. They're not really saying much about Ice Trap. Conversion Trap. Wow, this thing exists. Trap duration lowered to 4 seconds from 8. Mana cost lowered. Yeah, no real changes to that either. Many skills, okay, specific skill changes. Many skills have received significant balance or mechanical changes. As always, these changes affect all sources of the skill. All sources of the skill. I assume that means like if the skill is on an item. But I'm not sure if it works on exiles using the skill. Or monsters using the skill. Maybe monsters have a different version of stuff. I guess we'll find out when we play. Infernal Blow. Previously placed a debuff for 0.5 seconds on enemies hit by the skill. If the target died with the debuff active, it exploded, dealing fire damage equal to 10% of its maximum life to other nearby enemies. Now places a debuff for 0.8 seconds. Repeated hits refresh the duration of the debuff and add another stack. Wow! Infernal Blow hype. Hey Storby, morning nudes, yeah. Morning Pee-wee nudes. So yeah, Infernal Blow now stacks. If the target dies while debuffed, it explodes, dealing 6% of the monster's base maximum life to nearby enemies, plus 66% of base attack damage per debuff. So the explosion deals damage based on your attack damage now as well, not just the monster life. Nudes. Yeah, we have an internal joke in our IRC channel where we call Pee-wee nudes. Sorry, we call Pee-wee news nudes. I don't remember why. At 6 stacks of the debuff, the target explodes for 6... Oh, I already read this, didn't I? No, wait. At 6 stacks, the target explodes for 66% of base attack damage per debuff, and the debuffs are consumed. Oh, so for single target, if you attack really fast with this, you get explosions before the monster even dies. That's pretty cool. I might want to play an Infernal Blow character at some point this patch. Monsters slain by this explosion will still explode, dealing damage based on its life. Yeah, you can chain these if you have enough AoE. You probably can't get enough AoE though, because AoE nerfs. Now has an added damage effectiveness and base damage of 100% at gem level 1, down from 130%. Up to 123% at gem level 20, down from 160. That makes sense though, when adding all these extra explosion damages. Now grants additional melee range as it levels up to 3%. Ooh. I wonder if the melee range also affects the explosion radius. It should, right? Maybe. Rain of Arrows. Rain of Arrows. Previously dealt damage in an area based on weapon damage. Now fires a number of arrows across the area. 200 Infernal Bro. Yeah, maybe. If they also buff 200s, I'm not sure if they have. I haven't got to that part yet. Now fires a number of arrows across the area, dealing damage based on weapon damage with each one. Half of these arrows will target enemies in the area, while the rest will target the area at set ranges from the center at random. There was previously a news post about this, with an image illustrating how this hits. Now has an added damage effectiveness and base damage of 40% at gem level 1. But it makes sense that they reduced the damage effectiveness, because previously it was just one big area and now it's multiple smaller hits like Firestorm. So they can't really have really high damage effectiveness on it. And I assume there's going to be some overlap possibility here. Like, you're going to have multiple arrow clusters hitting the same target sometimes. Charge Dash. Previously moved a projection of the attacker in a straight line while channeling, dealing damage along that path based on attack speed and distance traveled only when the skill ceased channeling. Now moves the projection of the attacker in a direction based on the cursor position relative to the player. Yeah, I read about this the other day in the skill news. You can actually affect which way it channels while it's channeling. I'm curious to see how that's going to actually feel in game. Deals pulses of damage along this path every 2 stages while channeling. When channeling ends, it deals 75% of base damage per stage. If the skill has reached its maximum number of stages or maximum distance, it deals 150% more base damage with each pulse. Yeah. I mean, the damage model is more like Blade Flurry, I guess, now. Because it deals some damage while you're channeling and also when you release it. Although, it deals a lot less damage than a Blade Flurry does. The projection's path is limited by a set distance from the player, as well as the total distance traveled by the projection. Movement speed affects this distance. Now has an added damage effectiveness and base damage of 75% at level 1, down from 90%, up to 92.1% at gem level 20, down from 109%. Yeah. I can't really say that I've ever used Charge Dash for anything, so I don't know. Incinerate. Now this has been changed a lot, and we've seen the new mechanic in Ziggity's videos, I believe. Previously fired a short duration projectiles in front of the caster while channeling, dealing 50% more damage with hits and ailments for each stage. Now deals area of effect damage in a cone in front of the caster while channeling, dealing 25% more damage with hits and ailments for each stage. The angle of the cone increases by up to 300%. While channeling, when channeling ends, the final wave is released released, which deals 500% more damage with hits and ignite. This final wave always ignites. Nice. Now increases fire damage by 1% per 1% quality on the skill gem. Previously increased projectile speed. Yeah, because it's no longer a projectile, they had to change that, of course. This will be pretty fun to play around with, but I think it's probably going to be more of a single target boss killer skill and not so much of a clear skill, because you're going to be stuck standing still. It's like trying to clear with Blade Flurry. It's going to feel kind of painful. You're probably going to want to use a different skill for clearing if you want to go fast. But with this damage effectiveness on the final wave, you can get some big ignites. So it's good for bosses. Hang on a sec, I need to clear my voice real quick. Sorry, clear my throat. I'm gonna go take a nap, enjoy reading your nudes. Okay, Petro, good night. Enjoy your nap. Ground Slam. Previously dealt damage in the cone in front of the attacker based on weapon damage. Now deals damage in the cone in front of the attacker based on weapon damage, but also deals up to 40% more damage to closer targets at gem level 1, up to 49% at gem level 20. Are nap memes spreading? Nah. People actually have naps outside of our IRC channel, I think. They're allowed to have naps though, and we're not. Now has a significantly wider area of effect. Hey, you were asking for Ground Slam buffs, right? Have you read this? Now has an added damage effectiveness and base damage of 100% at gem level 1, up from 90%. This seems like a really minor buff though. Need regular naps, AFKing in hideout is tiring. That is true. That's why I'm idling in town instead. AFK mode off. Cold Snap. Now this one's really cool. I played with this in the alpha for like an hour. Previously dealt cold damage in an area, now deals cold damage in an area, then creates an area of chilled ground, which deals cold damage over time and expands over its duration up to twice its original size. This effect lasts 6 seconds. Now deals 24 to 35 cold damage at gem level 1, up from 9 to 13. Up from 9 to 13. Look at how pathetic this used to be. Like, how was this even allowed to be a skill? It dealt no damage whatsoever. Oh, I guess the level requirement has also changed. Dope. Makes sense. Still though, this is a pretty huge buff at level 20 as well. 534 to 800, up from 462 to 693. And that's just the upfront hit. It also does damage over time after the upfront hit. Now has a cooldown of 3 seconds, down from 4, which can be bypassed by expending a frenzy charge instead of a power charge. Now requires 18 dexterity at gem level 1, previously only required intelligence. I guess they kind of want you to play a shadow with this, or at least travel into the shadow area to get some dex. Which also makes sense because you want to go there for frenzy charges. Now has an added damage effectiveness of 180% up from 120, that's a big buff. Now has a 25% chance to grant frenzy charge when the enemy dies while affected by the skill's cold damage over time. And this doesn't actually have to get the killing blow, by the way. You can just apply this to an area and then kill them with other skills to get frenzy charges. So it's a decent alternative to Blood Rage if you want frenzies. This can permanently sustain your frenzy charges while you're clearing. No, it's probably best to just use it for use it as your main skill, to be honest. It's a pretty strong main skill, I think. Power Siphon now has an added damage effectiveness and base damage of 125% at gem level 1, down from 130, up to 150% at gem level 20. No, at first glance this looks like a nerf, but then all of a sudden they add 7 projectiles. 4 projectiles at level 1, up to 7 extra projectiles at level 20. That's so insane to have 7 proj in your base of the skill. And I think they said in the previous news post that despite this buff, Kinetic Blast is still stronger. Anyway, let's not skip ahead too much. Now has a mana cost of 7, down from 13. They literally say so. Yeah, they did say that Kinetic Blast. They struggled to balance the Wander skills. They wanted to bring this in line with Kinetic Blast, but it's still weaker than it. So we'll see. So the mana cost has been reduced greatly, like 25% or so. Now has 20% increased critical strike chance per power charge. Now has 10% increased critical multiplier per power charge. Now has 20% chance to gain a power charge when you hit a rare or unique enemy. So you can sustain power charges on bosses with this now. And just perma-sustain power charges in general. You don't have to actually get the kills with it. I also believe it still has Culling Strike. No, that's not a change, it always had that. But it's not mentioned in the notes. So, well, they didn't say that they're removing Culling Strike, so obviously it's still gonna have it. Moving on to Double Strike. Now deals 3 to 5 additional physical damage against bleeding enemies at level 1, up to 113 to 169 additional physical damage against bleeding enemies at level 20. Now has an added damage effectiveness and base damage of 93.9% at 20, down from 96.6. That's such a minor nerf to the damage effectiveness. This also gets melee range as it levels, just like Infernal Blow, up to +3 at 20. Lacerate now has an added damage effectiveness and base damage of 60%, down from 95, up to 73.7, down from 117.8. Now gains up to 9 area of effect radius. 9 radius, that's actually a huge area. But Lacerate was pretty pathetic in the first place. I mean, the area was pretty pathetic on Lacerate. Maybe it'll be usable now. Now has a 25% chance to cause bleeding on hit. That makes sense with the name Lacerate. Now deals 25% more damage with hits and ailments against bleeding enemies. No longer has 25% less attack speed. Yeah, Lacerate is getting a huge buff actually. I mean, I'm gonna have to try out the skill to see how the AoE feels, but +9 sounds really big. Oh, up from +5. I missed this. They already had +5 on it, and it was pathetic with +5. We'll see. It might be good now. Arc now has an added damage effectiveness of 90%, up from 70. Now deals 7 to 37 damage at level 1, up from 2 to 35. That's a minor change to the base damage. Up to 152 to 862. Up from 47 to 886. That's also just yeah, they upped the minimum damage while slightly nerfing the high end. But overall that's a buff to the average hit. And also now deals 15% more damage for each remaining chain. That's a huge buff to single target and to just the initial hit and the AoE clearing as well. Can now split to an extra enemy whenever it chains. These splits cannot then chain. So it's gonna hit a lot more enemies. Chains 4 times at level 1, up to 7 times at level 20. And yeah, if they don't nerf the lab enchant, then the lab enchant is gonna be incredibly strong with +3 chain. It's gonna be pretty insane. Elemental hit. Previously added damage of a random element to an attack against single target. Now adds damage to all 3 elements to attack. Selects one at random and deals no damage of any other type. It tries not to pick the same element twice in a row. It tries, so it's not a guarantee to not hit the same one. Oh, maybe it's a guarantee unless you use two threshold jewels to make it always hit the same one. If the skill hits an enemy, it also deals damage in a small area around it. If the enemy is suffering from that element's associated ailment, i.e. if an ignited enemy with fire damage, the area component of the attack gets 80% more radius. But the base radius is going to be pretty low, so that's not going to be a huge AoE still. Now deals 10% more damage per elemental ailment on enemies. Oh, so if you deal all the ailments, you get 30% more LE damage, or more damage on it. Now has 30% chance to freeze, shock, and ignite, up from 10%. Which grows as the gem levels, up to 49% at gem level 20. Now requires level 12. Now actually shows the correct DPS in the tooltip. I'll believe that when I see it. The following skills have received numerical balance changes. Oh, this is gonna be a pain in the ass to read. Just a bunch of numbers. I'll just go over it quickly. Stormburst has received some damage buffs, more area damage. Oh, it lost a lot of area damage effect, or yeah, it lost a lot of more area damage, but got more added damage effectiveness and more AoE. and gained a lot of base damage. I'm not sure what that adds up to in the end, but I'm assuming they wanted to buff the skill because nobody used it. Orb of Storms. They buffed both the damage and the damage effectiveness of Orb of Storms. Previously, this was only used for applying Curse on hit or Equilibrium or Power Charge on crit. Maybe I'll see some actual use now for dealing damage, but I still have my doubts. They basically doubled the damage at level 20. And then added effectiveness was also more than doubled on top of that. Increases the cast speed now affect Orb of Storm's critical strike rate. No, wait, not the critical strike rate, just the strike rate. So the more cast speed you have, the more often this will strike. That makes sense. It might actually be decent now. I don't know. Ball Lightning up to 22 to 420. Dank. Such a meme. Now has an added damage effectiveness of 35%, up from 20%. The projectile base speed is now 33% faster. The projectile hits 33% more frequently to compensate. I see. Base radius increased by 10%. So they pretty much almost doubled the base damage of this as well. And increased the damage effectiveness by almost double as well. Nice. Bladefall now has 100% increased critical strike chance. Now has 20% reduced critical strike chance per volley. As well as 6% less damage per volley. Previously there was no penalty per volley to critical strike chance. Now has a cast time of 0.7 seconds down from 0.8. The increased crit is pretty significant though. It'll probably end up being a buff overall if you play a crit build. Earthquake. The base delay between the initial attack and the aftershock is now 1 second, down from 1.5 seconds. This is pretty significant. The aftershock now deals more damage as the gem levels, dealing 69% more damage at gem level 20, up from 50%. But this delay going down to 1 second probably means you can get it to a point where you can spam the skill and still have the aftershock apply before you override it. At least in certain setups with a slow weapon, slow two-hander. It should be easier to attain the optimal earthquake attack speed. Flame Surge now deals more damage with hits against burning enemies as the gem levels up to 88% more at gem level 20, up from 50% at all levels. Now has an added effectiveness of 120. So only minor changes to Flame Surge. I don't really see this being used, except maybe with Incinerate cast while channeling. I don't know. Maybe. It depends on... I don't actually know the Flame Surge numbers as it currently exists. Firestorm. A pretty decent nerf to just the Firestorm damage. No mechanical changes though. It already has really good mechanics. It'll probably be a good leveling skill, as it already was. Frost Bomb. A lot of numbers here. This also got double the damage pretty much at gem level 20. Almost double. Now has a 2-second delay before exploding and applies a debuff which lasts 5 seconds and grants minus 25% cold resist to affected enemies. Previously had a 3.5-second delay and applied a debuff which lasted 2 seconds and granted minus 20% cold res. Yeah, that's a pretty significant buff to Frost Bomb. Shorter delay, longer debuff, better damage, a lot more damage effectiveness. Yeah. It's still gonna be a utility skill, I think. You apply the Frost Bomb to make your other cold-based skills to deal more damage. Good for bosses and stuff. Fireball. Now deals 7 to 10 fire damage at level 1. Same as before. Up to 890 to 1335 at gem level 20. Up from 739, 1109. Yeah, minor buff to the base damage of Fireball. Slightly faster cast time. Plus 40 explosion radius at gem level 20, up from plus 3. Okay, so it's only a plus 1 radius. Still, that's pretty significant for such an already small radius to get another one. It's a good buff. Now it has an added effectiveness of 160, up from 100. That's good. Now deals 50% more damage with Ignite with adding Ignite at gem level 1, up from 88% more at level 20. Up to 88% more at level 20. Man, reading is hard. Yeah, I think Fireball's gonna be pretty good. I'm thinking about maybe making a Fireball Trickster. We'll see though. I mean, the easy way out would be to make an Arc Totem Hierophant and just demolish everything. But I just don't like the Arc or the Totem gameplay that much. And the clear speed's not going to be great in the end game on a totem character. Flame Blast now deals 90% more damage with ailments for each stage. Up from 50%. So they're actually buffing Flame Blast even. Did my doggo get nerfed, Carcass? Oh, yeah, let's skip ahead, Joel. Let's skip to Bisco. Nope, no Bisco nerfs. Doggo is gonna be just fine. So, I'm actually kind of surprised that they're buffing Flame Blast, because it's already a really strong spell. Damage-wise, I mean. But I guess they're buffing it for Ignite. After reading through it all, the power creep, yeah. They're buffing almost everything. I haven't seen a single significant nerf yet. So I evolved the Chaos in Presence and it hit +1 Frenzy. Nice. I think, maybe. Wonder how Ice Crash will look with Multi-Strike broke back. Yeah, it's probably gonna look amazing. Also, I believe Doriani's Fist is gonna be multi-strikeable. That should be pretty cool. Yeah, so Flame Blast just gets a lot more damage with ailments for each stage. Oh, it's with ailments. It's only with ailments, so it's to buff the Ignite of Flame Blast. That makes sense. It also gets +5 chance to Ignite. The mana cost is halved at level 1. And reduced by 33% at level 20. Yeah, Flame Blast might be good. Magma Orb. Now deals 8 to 10 fire damage at level 1. Gave it to some random guy, also gave all my currency to a random guy. Why would you give your stuff away? I prefer having my stuff in my stash forever. In these museum tabs. Even though I'm never gonna use it. Magma Orb. Looks like minor numerical nerf to the damage and the projectile speed bounce. Projectile bounce speed has been significantly increased. Overall, not a big change. Except for the speed change might be... The speed change might be really useful. I don't know. I don't play Magma Orb that much. Spark now deals same as previously at level 1 up to 52 to 997 at level 20. Minor buff. RIP FPS. Magma Orb, yeah. I also gave away my Headhunter stuff to some guy from Twitch chat before I delete my standard again. I see. Projectiles have base duration of 2 seconds, up from 1.5. Yeah, even Spark is getting buffed. Projectile speed per gem level. There's nothing in here mentioning how you know how sparks can actually get eaten by rocks and stuff if you hit them at certain angles. There's no mention of that being fixed, so Spark's still gonna feel really awful on some maps. But numerically it's getting buffed, like pretty much everything else. Body swap now has a cast time of 0.6 seconds, down from 0.8. That's pretty cool. Rocks. Feels bad, man. Blade Vortex now has 35% increased hit rate for each blade. Remember back in the day, every single stack of Blade Vortex used to hit? But they had to nerf that for server and performance reasons, I think. Now they're increasing the hit rate again. It's not to the same ridiculous levels as previous Blade Vortex, but still. It has more hit rate at least. Now deals 35% more damage with hits and ailments for each blade, up from 35% for hits and 25% for ailments. I don't remember, but I've seen it. Yeah, it used to hit a lot. Now has 10% increased critical strike chance for each blade. Now has a limit of 10 active spinning blades. Oh, that's why they're doing this. They're just reducing the amount of blades to increase performance, I guess. And then making them hit faster per blade again. I guess this is kind of like the same change that they initially did. I don't quite remember, but I think it used to be able to get to like 50 stacks a long time ago. Now it only gets to 10 stacks. But each stack does more. Ethereal Knives. Now deals 6 to 9 fist damage at gem level 1, up from 4 to 6. Up to 457 to 685 fist damage as at level 20. 20? Now I'm talking about 20 is the current stack size, but a long time ago it used to be able to get even more stacks. Because they've done this before. They've reduced the stack size of Blade Vortex before. Maybe it's in the wiki. Yeah, Blade Vortex now has a stack size of 20, down from 50. Patch 2.4. Doggo left me. Rip. Rip my coffee. Where was I? Ethereal Knives. Whoa, wait a minute. This is not a buff. The damage at gem level 20 is nerfed. On Ethereal Knives. EK got nerfed, guys. Get out your pitchforks. We have a nerf. I guess it's still Sunder Jug for some lab action. For some Broke Pack lab action. Kappa. Maybe. If you like that kind of thing. I'm just gonna go SSF. Probably softcore SSF League this time. But I'm gonna farm a Headhunter and Burials. I just need to find a decent build to set up the Atlas first. I'll probably do Dark Pact totems. Interesting. Dark Pact. I haven't seen anything about Dark Pact changes here yet. Blast Rain now converts 100% to fire. Now penetrates 15% fire resist. Yeah, Blast Rain was another one that I wanted to try, maybe. Barrage now has an added damage effectiveness and base damage of 40%, down from 50. This is also reduced to 20. Now fires 4 additional proj, up from 3. So it gains... Yeah, they talked about this before, their plans to nerf Barrage. They're basically doing this so that added projectiles from Dying Sun and stuff will be less overpowered. But they're adding in more base projectiles. I think overall this is going to be a very minor change to Barrage's overall damage. It'll just be harder to scale it to ridiculous levels by adding a bunch of proj. So maybe GMP won't be the best support for Barrage anymore. I mean, it already wasn't the best support if you had other proj sources. It got overtaken by slower proj at some point. Without any damage increasing gear on a 5-link soul mantle with increased damage per curse on hit. Curse on you, it's at 650k shaper DPS. With 40% damage taken from mana. Are you talking about Dark Pact totems? Freezing Pulse. Now deals 7 to 11 damage, cold damage at level 1. Up to 798 to 1197, cold damage at level 20. Minor buff to the base damage. Well, actually a decent buff to the base damage. Projectile now moves more quickly at the start and slowly decelerates. The damage now drops to 50% at maximum distance. Up from 0%. Wait, what? Just realized my sentences are not coherent at all. Yeah, sometimes. I do that sometimes as well. Ice Crash can now be supported by Multi-Strike. Doriani's Touch can now be supported by Multi-Strike. That'll be fun to try. Static Strike now correctly states that the explosion cannot be evaded or dodged. That sounds like a tooltip update and not an actual change. Wither clarified the skill's description. Same thing there, just a tooltip change. Essence Strain now specifies it cannot be used by traps or mines. I never tried to do that, but I guess it never worked. I don't know. Phase run cast time lowered to 0.25 seconds from 0.5. That's half the cast time. Same thing with Tempest Shield. Sad to not see many ascendancy changes though. Wait, you're skipping ahead. I'm still far behind you guys on the patch notes here. Flame Dash. When targeting an unwalkable area, will now teleport you as close to the edge as it can rather than not casting. Huh. We'll have to wait and see how this actually feels. Frostwall now correctly has a random orientation when it targets the caster or has no specific target. Sorry for spoilering, feels bad man, I read him 5 hours ago. Yeah, I was asleep when the patch notes hit. I don't really want to screw up my sleep schedule for PoE anymore. I'm probably not even gonna play on release. I'm gonna sleep and then play the next day. But I'll try to wake up early on Saturday. Val skill changes. Val skill gems now also grant the base version of the skill. We already knew that. Using a Val skill now prevents you from gaining souls for Val skills for a short period of time after the skill is used. The duration of this effect varies from skill to skill. Hey, Jack92. How are you doing? Have you read the patch notes? Joel says he has a 4.5 day weekend, kinda hyped. Cool. Do you have the weekend for release or right now? Hey man, excited about the notes? Yeah, I'm pretty excited. In the process of morning reading at work. Okay. Anyone knows when the flashback prices are going to be distributed? I think they already have been. I saw some people on Reddit say that they have gotten their prizes. I didn't personally play, so I can't really check. But I think you got a message if you won. If you won anything, you should have a message on your account telling you what you won. Bad gateway, Pee-wee homepage won't refresh. Feels bad, man. Don't have so much time to theorycraft anymore, going SSF this league for the first time. Any tips on builds, anyone? I think Arc Totem Hierophant is gonna be the strongest league starter for SSF. Probably for Trade League as well. Tomorrow's a half day, Friday's teacher only day. It's Queen's birthday weekend. Queen's birthday weekend? Wow, is that a thing? Do people actually get the day off when the Queen has her birthday? What? Arc Totems sound fun. Damn. Yeah, I personally don't really enjoy Totem gameplay that much, but I think Arc Totem Hierophant is gonna be insanely strong. I mean, the clear speed's not gonna be super great because it's a Totem build, but you're gonna deal so much damage with Arc now, and it's gonna clear pretty well. I'm guessing it's a generic Totem build. Yeah, you'd probably just build it like any Totem Hierophant and just adjust for Arc. Like, you can probably find something like a Glacial Cascade Totem build from previous patch and then just take out all the cold stuff and replace it with lightning stuff. Or you could just go crit. Because I don't think there's any significant changes to the passive tree in that part of the tree. There are some changes to the passive tree in the right side of the tree in their shadow, but none that are gonna screw up your build. I think it's mostly to improve trap gameplay. Where was I? Using Evolve skill now prevents you from using the souls or for getting souls. A lot of time clear speed can be fine if you have good movement skill. Yeah, but I mean, placing totems just doesn't feel good to me. 2 Shimmerons sound strong too. Yeah, but you'd use the Shimmerons only for boss killing and not for clearing. For clearing, you'd probably use Bright Peak just to move faster. Because you're gonna have more than enough damage for just clearing maps anyway. Weapon swap is an option, yeah, for sure. Whereas previously the cost of all skills would increase in areas after Act 5, and again after Act 10, the cost of all skills is now consistent throughout the game. This is worth keeping in mind. This was in the Markov chain patch notes. This is worth keeping in mind. Something about the witch being more consistent. So that's where that was from. This is worth keeping in mind when looking at the following changes. As although many Vol skill costs have been raised when comparing to their base cost previously, they are typically now lower than the cost you would have paid in higher level areas. Alright. So I'm guessing Vol Arc won't work with totems? I actually don't know. Is Jaka new around this? I think I remember Jaka being here before. Just doesn't talk much. Exile.com is now under maintenance. Feels bad, man. I see, it is under maintenance. I better not refresh this then, because I want to read the patch notes. If you want though, I can upload the patch notes to a paste bin. grunge, maybe. I really don't want to use pastebin, but I don't remember the URL of the paste that I usually use. Okay, I found it. This one's pretty great. Oh, that was just the URL to this site, by the way. There you go. You got the patch notes. Although the formatting is pretty screwed up, but at least you can read them if you don't have access. A website to paste shit, yeah. Now, where was I? I was reading about vol skills. There we go. Damaging rare enemies now creates 1 Vol Soul per 2% life it loses with a 1-second cooldown. Vol Soul changes, yeah, thanks. Damaging unique enemies now generates 3 Vol Souls per 2% life it loses with a 1-second cooldown. So, you're really only gonna gain a lot of souls if your damage is really low because of the cooldown. But I mean, if your damage is really high, then it doesn't matter because you're going to be killing the boss a lot faster. So you don't really need the Vol Souls then. This is fine. The following skills have received significant mechanical changes. Swaying Carcass, did you get to the good part? There are many good parts, Maxu. You're going to have to be more specific. I'm guessing if you use Vol Arc with totems, it just puts a totem down, fires once and done. Maybe. But I mean, you're gonna get both the regular skill and the Vol skill version from the same gem. So you don't have to use the Vol version with a totem if you don't want to. Or what I'm trying to say is... what am I trying to say? I don't know. With totems I can't deal damage. Or even if I don't use Ancestral Bond, the damage won't be really high. Yeah, if you want to use Vol Arc, you're gonna have to use it with a totem, for sure. I guess it probably just shoots once, yeah. But it might not be usable at all. Maybe you just want to use a better Vol or a better regular Arc gem because you can get better corruptions on regular gems. It's really hard to get a Vol Arc with 2120. We'll see. Maybe the new corruption outcomes will be will change that though. Maybe there will be new ways to get better Vol gems.